Summa Theologiae, Quaestio centum quinquaginta de ebrietate, Thomas Aquinas. A member of the Order of the Friars Preacher, or Dominican order, Thomas Aquinas traveled to the University of Paris, the leading university of the time, to further his education in theology. After studying theology, he became a professor on the subject and wrote many works employing scholasticism and syllogism, methods of intellectual analysis that mendicant orders such as the Dominicans were renowned for. A technique of logic, syllogism is a process in which one starts with a fact, then makes one or two deductions based on that fact. The mendicant orders, especially the Dominicans, applied this idea to theology, although the idea was based on an Aristotelian method. The Summa Theologiae is considered a major scholastic work of the Middle Ages. Scholasticism is a method of critical thinking created in the Middle Ages in which one uses Aristotelian and occasionally Augustinian methods of reasoning to answer philosophical questions. Aristotle believed that all knowledge fits together. Mendicant orders were quick to Christianize the ideas of Aristotle, thus creating an adaptation of his works useful for purposes. While teaching theology at the University of Paris, Thomas Aquinas wrote his major work, Summa Theologiae, or the Sum of Theology, in the mid-13th century. A book about theology, it uses philosophy based on Aristotelian ideas to analyze Christian beliefs. Although it was condemned as heretical by the Bishop of Paris in 1277, it was widely ignored, and the work remained popular in universities around Europe as a way of studying both theology and philosophy. In his organization of the texts of the Summa Theologiae, Thomas Aquinas presents a specific organization when presenting his argument. First, Aquinas lists everything he shall discuss. In this article, he presents all the arguments that would seem to provide reasoning that drunkenness is not a sin. He then follows this, however, with a bold statement from the Apostle Paul, which declares it indeed is. His reply represents Thomas's true argument, in which he presents information to prove that drunkenness is indeed a sin. Then he lists his reasons just as he did in the first article. In my translation, I read the first list of everything he will discuss, as well as the first article, the counter-arguments, and the beginning of his responsio, in which he states his first argument. Thus, a brief introduction to Thomas Aquinas' belief regarding drunkenness. As the Summa Theologiae addresses many theological issues, this portion of the text introduces what Aquinas will be discussing in this chapter of the text. He introduces his topic, drunkenness, and what questions he will raise and address in Quaestio centum quinquaginta. Summa Theologiae, Quaestio centum quinquaginta, de ebrietate. Deinde considerandum est de ebrietate, et circa hoc quaerontur quatuor, utrum ebrietas sit peccatum, utrum sit peccatum mortale, utrum sit gravissimum peccatorum, utrum excusat a peccato. Thus, if we look at the full translation, it reads, The Sum of Theology, Inquiry 150, about drunkenness. Then one must consider drunkenness, and about this 4 things are inquired: whether drunkenness is a sin, whether drunkenness is a mortal sin, whether drunkenness is the heaviest of sins, and whether drunkenness excuses from sin. As noted earlier, Article 1 lists arguments that go against Aquinas' true belief surrounding drunkenness. In his first statement of this article, he says, Ad primum sic proceditur, videtur quod ebrietas non sit peccatum. Translated to, and thus one proceeds to the first point. It seems that drunkenness is not a sin. Therefore, Aquinas does not actually believe that drunkenness is not a sin. Between his first article and his responsio, Aquinas shows his true beliefs in the bold statement from the Apostle Paul, sed contra est quod apostolus dicit ad Rome, non in commessationibus et ebritatibus. This translates to, "But against this is what the apostles said in Romans, not to be in the reveling and drunkenness." Here is where Thomas Aquinas' true message is first revealed.